A 600-pound front door. That's the first thing you encounter at Travis Scott's Houston mansion. Before you even see the glass walls, the recording studios, and the infinity pools inside. Just a reinforced steel door that weighs as much as a grizzly bear, guarding a $14.5 million compound that most people don't even know exists. But what is this massive door protecting? And more importantly, how do kids sleeping on couches end up here? Let's find out. The glass fortress nobody talks about. Here's the interesting thing about Travis Scott's real estate. Everyone talks about the Brentwood mansion, the $23.5 million Hollywood showpiece that looks like a yacht parked on a hilltop. That's the one that makes headlines and the one the internet obsesses over. But ask anyone who actually knows Travis, and they'll tell you the same thing. His real home, the one that actually means something to him, is in Houston, tucked quietly into the museum district. And most people have absolutely no idea it exists. We're talking about a $14.5 million compound that real estate experts have genuinely called the absolute pinnacle of Houston luxury. Not Houston hip-hop luxury, not Texas celebrity luxury, Houston luxury, full stop. And the Glass Fortress label isn't just a catchy nickname. It's an accurate architectural description of a property that was designed to feel simultaneously open and completely impenetrable. But here's where it gets interesting. Travis didn't do what most Houston celebrities do when the money arrives. He didn't buy a sprawling estate out in the suburbs with a gate at the end of a long private road. He deliberately chose the museum district, an area anchored by institutions like the Museum of Fine Arts, walkable streets, and a concentration of cultural energy that you just don't find in gated suburban enclaves. Think about what that choice is actually communicating. Most mega-wealthy celebrities want distance. They want acres between themselves and the rest of civilization. Travis bought into a neighborhood, an intellectual, artistic neighborhood. One that positions him not as a transient pop star who happened to get rich, but as a permanent fixture in Houston's cultural identity. And it works on multiple levels simultaneously, which is very Travis. The museum district gives him cultural prestige and artistic credibility. But the compound also connects to Piney Point and Hunters Creek Village, two of the wealthiest and most powerful residential enclaves in the entire state of Texas. So he's sitting at this fascinating intersection of creative community and elite influence, and he's doing it in a city where he's openly called for monuments to be built, celebrating artists like himself and Beyoncé. His mansion, in a very real sense, is his private version of that monument. A permanent, high-value declaration that says, "I'm from here, I'm staying here, and I built something that will outlast any song I ever recorded." But what's actually inside this place? Because that's where the story really gets jaw-dropping. The 600-pound door and what lies beyond. Before we explore the inside, let's talk more about that door, because it deserves more than a passing mention. 600 pounds of reinforced steel. The average residential front door weighs somewhere between 50 and 80 pounds. This one weighs more than most professional football players combined. It requires engineered hinges, specialized installation hardware, and serious structural reinforcement just to function properly. Most people will never in their lives encounter a residential door that operates on this scale. So why? Security is the obvious answer, and it's a real one. Travis has been famous long enough to understand what genuine threats look like. But if you know anything about his design philosophy, you know the door is also deeply personal. Travis is obsessed with brutalism. Raw, heavy, permanent materials. Exposed concrete, titanium. Structures that feel like they were built to survive centuries rather than decades. That 600-pound door is the first sentence of an architectural statement that the entire property is making. This is not temporary. This is not for show, and this was not built by someone who plans on going anywhere. Step past it, and the property opens up into something that feels almost contradictory to all that steel and weight, because the defining characteristic of the interior is glass. Floor-to-ceiling windows running across the main living areas, creating this seamless visual flow between inside and outside, flooding every room with natural light while the strategic landscaping and positioning of the building maintains complete privacy from the street. It's a fascinating tension. Brutal security on the outside, radical openness on the inside. And somehow it works. The grounds outside feature multiple pools with infinity edges and ultra-modern geometric design, with expansive outdoor living areas that blur the line between architecture and landscape. Inside, the aesthetic immediately tells you this is someone who collaborated with Rick Owens to design custom furniture and actually meant it, not as a celebrity vanity project, but as genuine creative collaboration. Exposed concrete walls, rich hardwood flooring, titanium accents throughout. Every material choice feels deliberate, curated, like the whole place is a very expensive art installation you also happen to sleep in. The grand foyer is where Travis famously placed thousands of rose petals for Kylie Jenner's birthday in 2019. And even that gesture tells you something about the space. It has the kind of scale and openness that invites that sort of theatrical romanticism. No double staircases trying to look important. No McMansion tropes competing for attention. Just clean lines, generous proportions, and that 600-pound door behind you reminding you of the weight of everything that was built to get you here. The kitchen is outfitted with thermidor ranges, custom cabinetry, and a mahogany breakfast bar that serves as the informal gravitational center of the home when Travis has his creative team around. This isn't a kitchen designed for real estate photography. It's a working space where actual meals get made and actual ideas get pressure tested alongside the food. The formal dining room flows naturally off it, maintaining that same sense of intentional functionality wrapped in high-end materials. But if you ask Travis which room in this entire property matters most to him, the answer probably wouldn't be any of those. The most important room in this mansion is where he actually works. And that space deserves its own conversation. The studio where hits are made. Travis Scott doesn't treat the Houston mansion as a place to rest between creative sessions somewhere else. He creates here. And the recording infrastructure he's built into this property is on a level that most professional studios would genuinely envy. In 2024, Travis collaborated with designer Rick Owens on a project called the Tech Glade, a modular recording suite and seating system that functions as the operational blueprint for his studio setups across all his properties. And what makes this studio genuinely different from a standard celebrity home recording room isn't just the equipment, it's the philosophy behind how the whole space was designed. The studio is built on modular sections, meaning the entire layout can be reconfigured depending on what Travis is working on at any given moment. Some sessions need an intimate, closed-in environment. Others need space and openness for the sound to breathe. Travis has spoken about being fascinated by structural engineering, by how spaces fit together, how sound moves through rooms differently based on architecture. The modular approach lets him control that relationship between space and sound in a way that a fixed layout studio simply can't offer. The aesthetic inside is dark and intensely focused. Batapin pine wood covered in French army wool blankets creates this moody, almost cave-like atmosphere that feels completely intentional when you consider the kind of music Travis makes. This is not a bright, cheerful, inspiring quotes on the wall kind of creative space. It's brooding, layered, designed to put you in a specific psychological headspace. The kind of headspace where psychedelic trap music actually makes complete sense. The acoustic engineering was handled by Damien Quintard, and what that means practically is that every surface, every material, every angle in that room has been optimized for sound quality rather than just visual aesthetics. When Travis records vocals in there, when he layers beats and builds the sonic architecture of a record, the room itself is working with him rather than against him. Travis has also talked about something that reveals a lot about how his creative process actually functions. He says he visualizes music spatially. While he's still writing a song, he's already imagining the stage it will be performed on. The crowd movement, the lighting, the physical experience of being in the room when that song hits. His home studio supports that entire ecosystem, functioning simultaneously as a recording space, a production environment, and a testing ground for ideas that will eventually become massive arena productions months or years later. The mansion rounds out its creative infrastructure with a private cinema featuring mohair-upholstered lounges, because film is a serious influence on Travis's visual storytelling and stage design. Not background noise, but active research. There's a wine cellar and tasting room. And then there's the master suite, which operates less like a bedroom and more like a private resort that happens to be inside your house. The master suite and life inside the fortress. The primary bedroom suite in this compound is one of those spaces that's genuinely difficult to describe without it sounding like exaggeration, because the gap between what most people imagine a nice bedroom to be and what this actually is happens to be enormous. There's a full coffee bar, mahogany-fitted walk-in closets that are designed and organized with the same intentionality as everything else in the property, a spa bathroom with floor-to-ceiling windows that bring natural light in from multiple angles while maintaining complete privacy. And that combination of light and privacy is a thread that runs through the entire property's design language. Everything feels simultaneously exposed to the world and completely protected from it. Travis has said he needs spaces that make you come alive, and the master suite is the most personal expression of that philosophy in the entire home. The property also functions as shared space for his children, Stormy and Airy, to experience their father's Houston roots in a tangible way. And that matters to Travis in ways that go deeper than sentiment. Houston isn't just geography for him, it's sonic identity, it's artistic foundation. It's the city that gave him his sound, his reference points, his entire creative vocabulary. Keeping a primary home in the museum district isn't nostalgia, it's maintenance. It's deliberately staying connected to the source material so that the music never loses its grounding. And then Astroworld happened, November 2021. 10 people died in a crowd surge at his festival, and the entire arc of Travis Scott's public life bent sharply in a direction nobody anticipated. The Houston mansion, which had been a creative headquarters, a family home, an artistic sanctuary, became something different almost overnight. It became a retreat from an intensity of public scrutiny that very few people in the entertainment industry have ever faced. He was spotted outside the compound during that period, wrapped in a $1,300 Hermes blanket, pacing. And that image stuck with a lot of people because it captured something true and uncomfortable: the collision of extraordinary wealth and genuine human devastation in one frame. Inside the glass fortress, the atmosphere shifted. What had been driven by creative energy and momentum was now shaped by grief, by legal weight, by the kind of moral reckoning that doesn't resolve quickly or cleanly. The floor-to-ceiling windows that had represented openness and connection to the surrounding neighborhood suddenly served a different purpose entirely. Not aesthetic pleasure, psychological survival, light when everything else felt very dark. Travis has spoken carefully and sparingly about that period. What's clear is that the Houston compound held him through it, and what's also clear is that the creative work continued. Slower, more deliberate, tempered by things he now carries that he didn't before. The mansion absorbed all of that, which is, when you think about it, exactly what a real home is supposed to do. And while Houston represents his foundation and his sanctuary, Travis has another property that represents something totally different: his arrival as a global mogul operating at the highest levels of wealth and influence. The Brentwood yacht, where moguls live. In June 2020, Travis Scott paid $23.5 million in cash for a Brentwood mansion known as Sky Lane. And I want to sit on the cash detail for a moment, because it matters more than it might seem. No mortgage, no financing, no bank involvement, just liquidity deployed at speed, which is a very specific kind of financial power that most people, including most wealthy people, never actually achieve. The property itself is genuinely unlike anything else in Los Angeles residential architecture. Designed by Sanam DeLorean, the 16,700 square foot structure literally resembles a luxury yacht parked on a hilltop. Curvaceous sheet metal exterior, triple-decker layout, every sightline engineered to feel like you're on the deck of something that should be moving through water. Travis has been vocal about his frustration with what he calls Lego-like box architecture, the kind of glass and right angles modernism that dominates luxury real estate in LA. Sky Lane is a direct rejection of all of that, and you feel it the moment you see the building. The driveway brings you directly to the roof, where there's parking for up to 12 vehicles before you descend into the main living spaces, which is genuinely not normal. Not for residential architecture, not for any price point. It's the kind of design decision that exists purely because someone had both the vision to imagine it and the financial freedom to execute it without compromise. At the heart of the interior, a massive floor-to-ceiling wooden sculpture by artist Toshi Kawabata serves as the home's artistic anchor. Raw, organic material in a high-tech frame, which is the exact same tension that defines Travis's creative aesthetic across everything he does. Below the main living areas sits a 20-car subterranean garage housing Travis's collection of Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and custom builds. And the fact that he calls it a gallery rather than a garage is telling. He genuinely sees his cars as part of the same creative language as his architecture, which means the space is designed and lit and organized accordingly. Then there's the 75-foot infinity pool offering a 180-degree view from downtown LA all the way to the Pacific Ocean, a gym and sauna setup, and wellness systems that are clearly designed for someone whose physical and mental output needs serious maintenance infrastructure. Here's the detail about this purchase that doesn't get enough attention, though. Sky Lane was originally listed for $42 million. It went through several significant price reductions before Travis moved. And when the moment was right, he came in with an all-cash offer at $23.5 million, nearly half the original asking price. That's not just wealthy, that's strategic. That's understanding that liquidity is leverage, that patience is a financial instrument, and that the ability to move decisively and immediately is worth more in real estate than almost any other advantage you can have. The Cactus Jack Empire: how the money actually works. So where does the kind of money that lets you drop $23.5 million in cash on a house actually come from? Because the answer is considerably more interesting than music. Travis earns somewhere between $30 and $40 million annually from music-related income: touring, streaming, album sales, the foundation layer. His Astro World Tour alone grossed over $53.5 million. But if that were the whole picture, we wouldn't be talking about cash purchases of Brentwood mansions. The real architecture of his wealth is built on top of that foundation, and it's genuinely sophisticated in ways that most people don't appreciate. His relationship with Nike and the Jordan brand is worth north of $10 million annually just in fees, but the fee is almost beside the point. What makes the Nike partnership transformative is the creative control embedded in the contract. Travis influences product design from, as he puts it, islet to soul. His limited edition collaborations sell out in minutes and resell at multiples of retail. During peak years, his Nike work has generated over $100 million in revenue for the brand. That gives him leverage in that relationship that goes way beyond what a standard endorsement deal looks like. The McDonald's Travis Scott meal in 2020 was the first celebrity meal collaboration since Michael Jordan. And the reason that matters isn't the meal itself, it's what the meal proved. That Travis's brand recognition is strong enough to move product across industries that have nothing to do with music or fashion. When a fast food chain gives you your own menu item and sees their sales spike nationally, you've crossed a threshold that very few entertainers ever reach. The Fortnite virtual concert, 27.7 million concurrent viewers, pushed that point even further, establishing Travis as a pioneer in a category of performance economics that barely existed before he demonstrated what was possible. Then there are the brand partnerships with PlayStation, Dior, and others that stack additional millions onto the annual income. The Cactus Jack label generating revenue independently. The publishing and catalog income that compounds quietly in the background. All of it feeds into a cash position that allows Travis to operate without banks, without financing pressure, without the kind of financial exposure that most celebrities carry without realizing it. Paying cash for real estate isn't just a flex. It's privacy, speed, and autonomy wrapped up in a single transaction. The feedback loop he's built is elegant. Music builds cultural cachet. Cultural cachet drives brand partnerships. Brand partnerships generate cash. Cash funds creative projects. Creative projects strengthen the music. And around it goes, with the Cactus Jack name functioning as both the connective tissue and the brand umbrella across the whole ecosystem. From couches to compounds, the come-up. But none of this started with $14.5 million compounds and Nike partnerships. It started with a kid who had nowhere to sleep. Travis Scott, born Jacques Berman Webster II in Houston, grew up in a genuinely middle-class household. His father was an amateur musician. His mother worked at an AT&T store. Not poverty, but not wealth either. And when Travis made the decision to drop out of the University of Texas at San Antonio to chase music full-time, his parents didn't support it. They cut him off. Completely. No safety net, no fallback, no financial cushion of any kind. Just the decision he'd made and the consequences of it staring at him. So he moved to New York, then LA, bouncing between cities and sleeping on floors and couches wherever people would have him. Friends who promised him housing would bail at the last minute. Opportunities would surface and then evaporate. He was genuinely broke, not tight budget, broke but calculating whether he could afford to eat, broke, and constantly close enough to the edge that most people in that situation simply turn around and go back to something safer. He didn't. And what made him different in those years wasn't just talent. Plenty of talented people sleep on couches and eventually go home. It was an almost irrational certainty that the thing he was building was real, combined with a work ethic that refused to interpret setbacks as signals to stop. The 2012 breakthrough came when Travis signed with Epic Records and caught the attention of both Kanye West and T.I., landing deals with good music and grand hustle simultaneously. That's not a small thing. Having two of the most respected figures in hip-hop validate your direction at the same moment gives you a credibility runway that almost nothing else can. Then came Rodeo in 2015, which established his psychedelic trap sound as something genuinely new rather than derivative. Antidote went multi-platinum. Suddenly, Travis wasn't one of many. He was a category unto himself. Astroworld in 2018 was the moment everything crystallized. The album wasn't just commercially successful. It was a cultural event, a love letter to a Houston amusement park that had been demolished, a piece of work so emotionally specific to a place and a time that it resonated globally precisely because of that specificity. #1 debut, triple platinum, and the kind of critical reception that permanently changes how an artist is discussed. Through all of it, Travis kept finding ways to take care of his family. In 2016, he surprised his parents with a fully designed Houston mansion as a Christmas gift, complete with an arcade room, a Pepsi vending machine, and a pool that he'd been secretly working on for months. That gesture, more than any album chart position or real estate purchase, tells you exactly who Travis Scott actually is underneath the creative persona. Success for him has always been about proving that the people who doubted him were wrong, and then taking care of the people who raised him, regardless. The blueprint of a creative visionary. So pull all of this back and look at it from a distance. What does the whole picture actually tell you? Travis Scott owns a $14.5 million glass fortress in Houston's Museum District, anchored by a 600-pound front door and containing world-class recording infrastructure and design choices that reflect 20 years of evolving creative obsession. He owns a $23.5 million Brentwood estate that looks like a luxury yacht and functions like a compound for someone operating at the intersection of music, fashion, architecture, and global brand culture. He gifted his parents a mansion. He co-owned property with one of the most valuable personal brands in the world. And he's reportedly acquiring additional parcels in the Museum District with the long-term intention of building a contiguous compound that functions as a permanent monument to what he built from those couch surfing years. But here's what makes Travis's real estate story genuinely different from a standard celebrity mansion tour. These properties aren't status displays, they're creative infrastructure. The Houston compound keeps him anchored to the city that gave him his voice. The recording studios let him work on his own timeline without external constraints. The wellness systems support the physical and mental output required to sustain the kind of career he's running. The Museum District location positions him within Houston's cultural legacy rather than above it. Every choice is architectural and strategic simultaneously. Travis has talked about wanting to study architecture formally at Harvard someday. His current portfolio already functions as a self-taught masterclass in how environment shapes creativity, how space influences the quality of thought, and how the places you choose to inhabit can actively participate in the work you're trying to make rather than simply housing it. After Astroworld, the Houston mansion became something even more essential, a place to heal quietly, to process things that don't process quickly, to rebuild without performing the rebuilding for anyone. The glass walls that had always symbolized openness became, for a period, the thing standing between Travis and a world that had very loud opinions about who he was and what he owed everyone. The fortress held him. And then, eventually, it sent him back out. And that's a wrap on Travis Scott's massive Houston mansion and its spellbinding features that redefine what it means to own a luxury house. Which part of this residence impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments, and for more such interesting peeks into Black wealth, take a look at Black Status.